Hello, my name is Georgine Martin, and the pet peeve I will be discussing today is bad methods to dealing with stress. According to the American Institute of Stress, over 120,000 people died in the past year alone due to stress induced heart attacks. Are you able to identify your stressors? And are the ways that you handle them healthy or unhealthy? Bad or unhealthy coping methods for stress can deteriorate your health, so it is very important you are able to identify them. Next, what is stress? Stress is any physical, emotional, or psychological strain that happens due to a change in your life. Today, I will be talking about 4 different types of stressors: potent, persistent, perceptual, and pervasive. Next, the first stressor is potent. This happens abruptly and unexpectedly. It is usually life-changing, and it happens from having to make tough decisions. Examples of these types of stress can come from a house fire, a car accident, or a death in the family. This stress, if not handled long-term, will lead to a decline in cardiovascular and respiratory health. Next. Persistent stress is a common, consistent, and underlying stress that happens often. It is the most harmful because it can actually weaken your body's immune system, leaving you susceptible to illnesses. That is why it is very important to identify and protect the body from this type of stress. An example is monthly mortgage. This is Steve. Steve missed work at the beginning of the month, and now he's worried that he won't have enough hours on his paycheck to pay his mortgage. This happens to Steve every few months. This persistent stress. Next. Perceptual stress. This stress actually stems from oneself. It's when negative and pessimistic thoughts take over the mind. Leaves people feeling very overwhelmed and not only very stressful, but it creates fear and anxiety. An example is flying on an airplane. Some people have no problem at all getting on an airplane to travel, while others will never get on an airplane in their life due to the fears that they have seen portrayed in the media. Next. Pervasive stress. Pervasive stress is a combination of any of the previous 3, potent, persistent, or perceptual, and it leaves a person feeling very overwhelmed. The good news is this is a short-term stress, so it doesn't last long. Next. Here I have listed some bad and unhealthy coping methods. So these will not actually relieve you of stress at all, as you can never get rid of your stress 100%. It will only cover it up. Examples are using tobacco products such as smoking cigarettes or vaping, drinking alcohol, which is a major depressant. So it may mask the stress for a while, but eventually it will just add to your stress. Nail biting, which also comes with anxiety, criticizing yourself or speaking negatively about yourself due to circumstances that bring you stress. Aggressiveness that comes from stress that has not been handled, which can happen at any moment in time. Drugs, which are also a major depressant like alcohol. Isolating yourself from people just because you feel stressed will only add to the stress. Eating too much or too little, which can be detrimental to your physical and mental health, and having excess caffeine. Next. Here I included a quote. It says, "Stress is largely self-inflicted, so the ability to manage stress more effectively comes from managing oneself. If you are able to manage yourself effectively, you will be able to learn how to manage your stress." This quote is by Michael Hetherington. Next. Here I have listed healthier alternatives to the bad or unhealthy coping methods. These will actually help you to work against the stress and provide relief. Exercise, which is beneficial to physical and mental health. Finding a hobby that keeps you busy and your mind off the stress, such as writing, painting, or drawing. Listening to music. Spending time with friends and family. Counseling, if you find yourself to be stressed out very often and a lot, it is a good idea to seek counseling so that you can talk about your problems and get advice from a different point of view. Meditation, spending time in nature, an example could be gardening, eating healthy, and getting enough sleep so that you don't need that excess caffeine. Next. How we get there. First, you have to ask yourself if you know where your stress is coming from, and you have to determine whether it's something that you can control yourself and make a change to help or not. If it is something that you are able to control, make sure you find something that you enjoy doing that will entertain you during your time, and to stay busy, that way your mind doesn't have to think about the stress. In the long run, make sure you're speaking of your problems and your stressors so they don't overwhelm you in your mind. And make sure to use your resources effectively to combat stress throughout your entire life. Next. Summary. It is important to understand precursors to stress, act during stressful situations, and find things to do that keep you busy that you enjoy. Most people don't know where their stress comes from. It is important to take a step back and look and decide if you can know where they come from. Next. Thank you for listening to Coping with Stress by Georgine Martin.